For questions or comments, please write to Renovations, care of HGTV, Box 50970, Knoxville, Tennessee 37950. Be sure to include the episode number and your daytime telephone number. Welcome back to Renovations, where work on this relocated historic home is rapidly progressing. So far, framing and sheathing on the new 3,000 square foot addition has been almost completed. And here at the original part of the home, work to restore and reuse the home's original shutters is underway.
Here you go, Johnny. Here's another one for you.
We're here with Doug Anderson of Cherry Hill Painting. Now, I know Tom has a penchant for keeping old things. You've obviously determined that these shutters were worth salvaging.
Yeah, they're structurally sound with the exception of some chipping paint. So what we're going to do is we're going to tool these down. As you can see, Johnny's over here with several different types of scrapers.
Yeah.
So you can get into these intricate parts here, remove the chipping paint, and then we'll take them over, sand them down. From that point, we'll take them over to Jimmy here, who's spot priming them right before we refinish them with the sprayer.
So you didn't want to go to the trouble of stripping everything back to the bare wood. You like this sort of rustic appeal of the...
That's correct. We wanted to try to keep some of the character of the wood.
Well, we look forward to seeing these painted a little bit later, but let's go and talk about the clapboard.
Very good.
Now, Doug, this clapboard is an on-again, off-again saga. I mean, originally it was going to come off, and then when Tom realized that the walls were filled with this concrete, decided to keep it. You've come onto the scene and with your expert opinion said it really should come off. Explain to us.
Well, if you look at this piece here, this piece stand is just taken off. You see this checking throughout here.
Yeah.
Even with proper prepping, without stripping this proper prepping, this checking would reoccur through time.
Okay.
The alternative was to power wash mechanically and manually scrape and sand this, but through time the checking would reappear, and we didn't think that would be aesthetically pleasing.
Now, what other issues are we looking at here?
Well, there's a vapor barrier. This doesn't have a vapor barrier, so what would happen was, if you can see the back, you can see moisture on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The moisture has no place to go but to push through the paint film, causing it also to break through and chip.
So the long shot was too expensive, too time consuming to fix this up. Better just to take it off, put up a water vapor barrier, and then just put on, we're going to put on the fiber cement.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it looks like you guys are actually spraying a couple of shutters. Let's take a look at that, huh?
Fine.
Well, Doug, these are coming out nice.
Yeah, they're not looking too bad.
Yeah. So how many coats of paint are you putting on?
Well, this is the first coat. Johnny's applying the first coat now, and after they dry, he'll apply the second coat.
And how many shutters do you have to do?
20 sets, roughly 40.
Wow, it's going to look great. I mean, there's nothing like the authentic, the real deal.
Yeah, I'm pleased with the way they're turning out.
And you got your work cut out for you, so we'll leave you to it. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So we were talking about fiber cement board, and I believe some of that is going up on the new addition even as we speak, so let's take a look at that. Well, we're here around the side of the new two-car garage where all of this fiber cement board siding is going up. And tucked here in the corner is Glenn, who's busy putting up all sorts of trim work. And you're working on a water table, right?
That's right. It's a decorative finish to the bottom of the wall,
right,
with the functionality to keep the water from draining into the foundation.
So the water runs down the siding and then
hits this beveled sill and falls away from the house.
All right, so let's explain. It looks like there's basically two pieces to this. This piece here.
This is a 1x8,
yep,
and I've routed an OG edge into the bottom of it just to simply match the rest of the molding on the house.
And then tell us about this piece here. What have you done with this?
This is a 5/4 pine material ripped on a 15-degree bevel
right here
to create the slope for the runoff of the water.
And that attaches against the wall here?
Correct.
And then what about this line? It's a kerf?
On the bottom there's a 3/8 kerf in case the water, it's windy, does blow underneath, it hits the kerf and it stops and falls off.
So it doesn't travel any further back towards the wall.
So there's no damage to the framing inside the house.
All right. Once the trim work is completed, the cement fiber board goes up. Tight. which is cut to fit one piece at a time. It's worthy of going to this extra trouble of putting in all this really beautiful trim work.
Well, it definitely adds to the character of the house.
Yeah, all right, you're doing a great job. Thanks, Glenn. See ya. Coming up on Renovations, specially designed radius windows are made for the new dormers. Welcome back to Renovations, where work to upgrade and expand this 1818 farmhouse with a spacious modern addition is moving along quickly. New cement fiberboard is being installed to complete the home's exterior, while the home's original shutters are being restored and reused to maintain an historic look. To complement the home's period style, three-dimensional asphalt shingles are being installed on the roof of the new addition. Right now, prep work is underway for custom radius windows. But before we take a look at that, we visited the factory where the radius windows for this project were made. We're at Geldwin Windows and Doors, where they're making the radius windows for our project. And we're here with Jack Malasky, who's going to take us on the tour of the factory. How are you, Jack?
Very good, Bart. Welcome to Ringtown.
Thank you very much. I'm impressed with the range of materials that you make here. Give us an idea as to the sort of product that you build here at Geldwin.
Sure. Right behind you we have a equal leg archtop with a radius head.
Yep.
That's an example of some of the radius product we do here. Right here we have a true half round.
Right behind us, yeah.
True half round. We also specialize in ovals and full circles. And we also make the traditional double hungs and casements in the factory as well.
And of course, most of these windows are for dressing up other windows, tops of doors, feature windows, things like that?
Correct. This particular window might be used above a front door in an application.
All right, but we're here to see these, what did you call it, a true half round?
True half round, yes.
Okay, let's go on the tour.
Okay. Well, Bart, here's the start of our process. Gina is dropping a sheet of glass onto this table.
That's scary.
Looks a little dangerous, but as you can see, if you just run your hands over it, it's like a giant air hockey table. The air suspends it right above the table.
Amazing.
Once she drops it, the glass will come down and get centered up automatically onto our cutting table. And as you can see, it's scoring a radius pattern right now. The score depth isn't tremendous. This is 3mm glass. We're basically just scoring the very surface of it. It doesn't require a deep score at all for our operators to snap off.
Okay, so once the glass is scored, it just pops out, right?
Once it's scored, the operators come down, you can see a small line of oil going around, and they'll just pop it right out. Look at that.
After the cut glass is run through a glass washer, it is dried and ready for insulation.
Okay, Bart, the next step in our process is turning our glass into an insulated light.
Right.
What Annette will do here is she'll apply a spacer material to our radius piece of glass, using a gun here that will guide herself along the edges of the glass to ensure a real straight and evenly divided spacer.
Now, what determines the distance between each piece of glass?
We have various heights of the spacer material. Depending on what type of glass we're running, we can run a different thickness of glass depending on what type of product.
And do you get more insulation the greater the distance between the glass?
Yes.
All right.
This table has a vacuum on it to allow her to easily maneuver the glass without being very cumbersome.
Now, of course, this is just a plain piece of glass, but you also, if you're using divided glass, would that happen here?
Correct. We would insert any type of grids between the glass at this stage. And what will happen then is the grids will be in there, or if it's clear, then on top of that we'll put a second piece of glass and make a sandwich.
And I think she's ready for that now, huh?
Yes, she is. Now she'll seat the glass on top, and now we have a start of our insulated glass.
Now, this spacer, does it create a seal?
At this point it doesn't. We need to backfill that spacer with a compound. But what she'll do now is send it through the press, and we'll go down to the next station.
All right, let's go, huh? Once the glass has been pressed, the spacer is then backfilled with a sealing compound, which creates an airtight, watertight seal. The bonded glass is now ready to be dropped into a radius window frame, which is made using laminated wood veneers. Now, Jack, I've always wondered, how do you actually bend the wood to make the radius part of these windows?
Well, Bart, the actual bending of the wood takes place in our radio frequency bender.
Now, why is it easier to bend laminated material like this as opposed to a solid piece of timber?
It's easier to bend laminate material because the laminate material will actually slide. Because of the glue, When your radius is going over, the outer pieces will actually slide on the inner pieces, making a nice, easier bend. If it was a solid piece of wood, you would experience cracking or breaking.
I can see that sliding process happening here. So how long does it stay on this machine?
We send about 8,500 volts through this, and it stays on here approximately 4 to 5 minutes. Once it cooks for 4 to 5 minutes, we'll let it cool down for 3 or 4 minutes, cures up, the glue cures up, and we're ready to go on to our next process.
So it's basically heat and pressure?
Heat and pressure is what it does.
All right, let's move on, huh?
Okay.
Aluminum cladding is shaped to match the radius frame, and then the pieces are ready for assembly. Well, Jack, we've got our window basically framed up. What are the final steps before we drop the glass in?
Well, here we are in final assembly, and what Gary's doing right now is laying down a bedding tape on top of our glass leg.
Yep.
Once he lays his bedding tape down, we'll be able to put a couple dabs of caulk in the corner, and then we will go ahead and bed the glass.
Now that tape, does that create a seal, and is it also to prevent the glass from being in contact with the aluminum as well?
Exactly. That's exactly it, Bart. It'll adhere slightly to the glass, keep it in place, and it also gives us a little bit of a cushion against the aluminum.
All right. Okay, so he just peels the top off of this tape.
He'll peel the tape off. Once he's finished that, he will pick the glass up and bed the glass on top of that tape. These suction cups help greatly to maneuver the glass around.
Definitely.
Drop that right on top of the bedding tape.
And then I guess you've got a final stop to put in there?
We will apply the final stop and the final sill stop, and we'll run screws through the back end, and all the screws will be hidden.
Drip cap, and we're ready to go. Thanks for showing us around.
Thank you very much, Bart.
Well, we're back on site where Rich is putting in one of these radius windows. Hey, Rich.
How you doing, Bart?
All right, mate. How are you?
Not bad today.
All right. Now, this window looks a little different to the one we saw being made in the factory.
Yeah, a little bit. They make a wide range of arch-top windows.
Yep. And it's the same process with the radius top on it, right?
Yes.
And it looks nice, too. Look at that.
Get the level.
Beautiful fit. Now, of course, you're using these windows to match them in with the existing windows on the original house, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're trying to keep with the historical look of the house.
And the siding and the roof is going to tie the new addition in with the original home, so the windows, it makes sense to have the windows match in as well.
Sure.
So once again, the windows are pretty easy to put in. You got Ken on the other side there, just making sure everything's level and plumb.
Well, he's leveling the sill right now, and then we'll check the side.
Now once you're done here, you've got another window just next to it, and then we've got two on the garage, the new two-car garage.
There's two going in over the garage, same dormers.
It?
We're also going to replace the two that are on the old portion of the house.
All right.
Just because it's a more energy efficient window and keep it the same look.
All right, mate. Well, doing a good job. Leave you to it. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Next on Renovations, reclaimed fieldstone builds up the new family room wall. For questions or comments, please write to Renovations, care of HGTV, Box 50970, Knoxville, Tennessee 37950. Be sure to include the episode number and your daytime telephone number. Welcome back to Renovations, where work to bring this 1818 farmhouse into the present day with the new addition is quickly coming to a close. With most of the exterior work completed, one of the final jobs on the interior of this 5,000 square foot project is underway. Here in the basement under the new addition, skilled masons are working to bring this cold, hard space and transform it into a rustic family room. We're here with Casey and Ray Schaefer, a father and son team from Old School Masonry, working on this beautiful stone wall. Casey, you're doing a great job here.
Thank you.
Now this stone was reclaimed from the old foundation from where the house used to be, right?
Yes, correct.
And it's, what is it, a sandstone?
Yep, it's a very soft sandstone. It's most likely very native to the land here.
Yep. And it's, I guess it would be fairly easy to work with in that you can shape it up fairly well.
Yeah, it trims really nice, and you can form it to shape just about anything you need.
Yeah. I'm looking at part of the wall that you've already done here, and it's very random with the size and the shape of the stone. What goes through your mind when you're trying to determine what stone goes where?
Well, it's pretty much like a big puzzle, and you just have to use what stone you have. you know, see how much big stone and little stone you have, and just kind of space them out so when you get to the top, it has the same look.
Yeah. Now I'm looking behind the stone there. You're now filling behind it. What else? It looks like you've got bits of old brick and all sorts of rubble back there too.
Yes, it just locks everything in.
Yep. Now this mixture that you're using is very dry. Why is that?
Well, it's easier to work with, and for laying stone, it's a lot nicer. It keeps the face of the stone from smearing too much when we rake it out and brush it.
It's nice. You really get that shadowy effect too under the stone too. It really adds to the texture of the wall. Now what happens once this wall is built?
When we're finished, we're going to wire brush it, clean it off real nice.
Yep.
And then we put a sealer on it.
Okay.
It's a masonry seal.
And what does that do for us?
Well, if it were outside, it would waterproof it and protect it more from the elements. But down the basement, it gives it a nice sheen to it, and they give it like a wet look.
Right.
And it'll help hold some of the dust back.
Right. I guess it brings the color of the rock out too. Huh?
Oh yeah. Yep. Makes the darks darker and the purples more purple.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Well, it's very painstaking, but it's a beautiful effect. It's a lot better looking than the old bare concrete.
Oh yeah. It has no personality.
All right, Casey. Thanks. I'll leave it to it.
Thank you.
With the final details in place, this renovation project comes to a close. Well, Tom, we're just about done. A few finishing touches, a bit of paint, bit of landscaping, I guess, and we're pretty much done, huh?
Yeah, we're kind of excited. The house turned out pretty nice. It's a lot of work, but
turned out beautifully.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fitting that we're meeting here because I look over my shoulder here, and that's where that building is. The assisted living facility is where this house used to be.
That's right.
And a lot of work involved, and you did a great job.
Everybody won on this one. We got a nice facility over there, and we got a nice house over here.
And we thank you so much for letting us come along and take a look at the process.
That's always my pleasure.
All right,
Bart.
thanks, Tom.
Okay.
Well, that about wraps it up for this house, but before we go, let's take a look back at the work that has taken place at this 1818 farmhouse, originally scheduled for demolition. To prepare the home for the move to its new address, a termite-ridden addition first needed to be taken down. Then, a new steel structural support system was installed under the house to reinforce it, and the house was lifted from its foundation and moved across the street. The footprint of the original antique farmhouse was expanded to include a new 3,000 square foot addition. Specially designed radius windows were installed, and cement board siding was put up to give the home a modern look while retaining its antique roots. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Thanks for watching this exciting home improvement project on Renovations.